Eddie Guerrero, vaya con Dios, mi amigo.
Tribal chief is head and shoulders above everybody.
Hey, guys, we're here at the locker room, this toxic reign scandal. We'll talk about what caused the demise of Eddie Guerrero. Viva la raza. Eddie Guerrero, who was born 1967 to 2005. We know that he accomplished many things in his career, many championships that he accomplished in WWE, WCW, and ECW. All the gold he has here. Let's look over his accomplishments. He is a one-time WWE champion. He is also the Intercontinental champion, tag team champion, European champion, cruiserweight champion, ECW World Television title. Did some stuff in New Japan. Many stuff here. Now we know this is on findagrave.com. He was born in October 9th, passed away 2005, November 13th. This is his grave site. And this is also a picture of him and his widow, Vicky Guerrero. But here goes the reports of what really happened. He had a massive heart failure, as stated here by Wrestling Inc. back in 2005. These were reports here, stated the final reports. It says here as well that WWE had posted the following after talking to Eddie Guerrero's widow, Vicky Guerrero. It also says here that he passed of a heart failure, past drinking and drug history. They saw signs of heart disease, everything. He had from beginning his career to later on. So it took a toll on him. Will Causeway passed away at only 38 years old. Eddie Guerrero, we miss you, man. But there'll be more interviews about it. We'll check it out here.
It was probably about 6 months. I was Kerwin White until the day Eddie died.
Yeah.
When Eddie died, we were in Minneapolis for a super show. A Raw and SmackDown show, because the whole crew was going overseas to Europe that night, I think, or maybe the next morning. And after Eddie passed, Vince, Triple H, Shawn Michaels all came to me at Eddie's hotel room, and we're in the hallway, and they're like, "What do I do?" Vince goes, "Do I cancel the show?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not. Eddie would never have wanted you to cancel the show. The show must go on. We have."
So they left this decision to you.
Well, I can't say that I made the final decision. They wanted my opinion on it.
Wow.
And whether he would have taken it or not, it's up to him. It's his show. But I told him, no, you don't do that. Absolutely not. Whether you do a tribute show or whatever, the show goes on, and I want to wrestle. And he was like, all right. And I came out that night as Chavo Guerrero with blonde hair.
Wow. How difficult was it to wrestle that match that night?
I was guided. I felt that like Eddie was there with me, and I was guided through it. Then I had JBL wanting to wrestle me and put me over. So, he's a guy that loved Eddie. I loved Eddie. We all did. So, the fans were behind you. It was like I couldn't do anything wrong that night. I look back at that match. It was just super special, man. Super special. Just getting in that ring and just performing. And Mick Foley, I think maybe a couple weeks afterwards, he wasn't even with the company. But when I saw him somewhere, he goes, Chavo, he goes, when you climbed up for that frog splash at the end of that match and you hit that frog splash 1, 2, 3, he goes, that was such a special moment. And I was like, wow. I was like, I was just, you're on autopilot, man.
And I mean, that really changed
about someone like Eddie Guerrero, just to get, their name out there, just to get some clicks. Eddie Guerrero was uncanny as far as a professional wrestler go. He was well before his time, and it was almost like he could see into the future as far as a match goes. You didn't even have to think when you were out there with Eddie. He would do all the thinking for you. He was great. And for someone to, say something like that, it just goes to show how much they don't know about the business, and guys like Eddie Guerrero and what he did, for the business, and so many guys that came after him as well. So I can see a couple people on social media agreeing with that person and saying, yeah, Eddie wasn't that good. But they don't know Eddie. They wasn't in the locker room with Eddie. They wasn't in the ring with Eddie, on those tours with Eddie, and the locker room leader Eddie. They just don't know. And it's easy to write something these days. It's easy to put something behind those few characters and push that enter button and put it out there in the world. But Eddie was there again, one of the greatest performers that ever put on a pair of boots. And you know how good someone is when you hear their peers talk about them. You're not going to hear one person that did it with Eddie say he was a B+ worker at best. No, you're not going to hear that. But I can expect hearing that from someone who has never been in the ring ever before, never put on a pair of boots ever before, make a comment like that, and someone give them the platform to actually
is
do it.
looking like somebody that is going to be a main event player for years to come in WWE until November 13th, 2005. And that's when Eddie was found unconscious in his hotel room in Minneapolis by Chavo. And there's a really, really heartbreaking but very well done Dark Side of the Ring episode on all of this. He had been brushing his teeth and he passed out, and Chavo discovered him. And unfortunately, by the time the paramedics got there, he was gone. He was just 38 years old. He died of heart failure. I remember as a fan just being decimated by this. I cannot even imagine what it was like being in that locker room. How do you remember finding out that Eddie had passed?
I remember coming to the building that day and walking in, and people were upset. Someone was crying, and then I was told. That's how I learned. And obviously extremely shocking.
Yeah. Because it's not just we're losing a legend here. And he had reached that status. He's an all-time great performer at that point. But this is a guy who was universally beloved in that locker room. Everyone loved Eddie Guerrero. Mm-hmm. How do you remember navigating those next 24, 48 hours with the rest of your coworkers there?
I mean, obviously it's heartbreaking and shocking, and it's like you don't even want to believe it's real. When you hear something like that, especially someone that you work with so much and you spend so much time with them and you have these bonds with them. I just remember the tribute show. We just said, like, if this is the last thing we're going to be able to give Eddie, let's give it our all and make this special and make it important, just like he would want it to be. It just didn't seem real. It didn't seem real that he was gone.
How long did it take to set in for a lot of the guys out there?
I mean, he was a beloved figure in the locker room, so it was tricky. It was tough, But guys, I remember the day of the show, we just tried to make it a celebration of his life and career, mm-hmm. and we tried to honor him in the best way that we possibly could, and just as far as setting in and accepting his death, it just it was tough, but just it's. You have to do it, and you have to move on. So it was just very sad, very unfortunate. He left us way too soon.
Do you remember your last conversation with Eddie by chance?
The last conversation that I really remember having, and it would have been a while before he died. I mean, just tons of small talk, whatever. Just saying that I was so happy that he got to win the championship, and he got to be in the slot of being looked at as like a main event guy, and he's making main event money, and he was just killing it on every degree. And I just remember he said, "Oh, thank you so much, Matt. Like, you and your brother are such sweethearts. It's been such a pleasure to work with you guys and share a locker room with you guys. Thank you so much. That is so sweet of you saying that." And that's just very, very much Eddie's personality too.
Yeah. Well, you did wrestle on the SmackDown side of the Eddie tribute show. They taped both Raw and SmackDown on the same night, and you're on the SmackDown side of it. You beat Carlito after a counter into a twist of fate, and I hosted DDP Snake Pit, and Dallas told me that he felt Eddie was like the master of the counter, and that no one was better at it than him. And Michael Cole even brings that up on commentary, that you win via a counter into the twist of fate, and you pay a little homage. You're wearing an I'm Your Poppy shirt. Do you remember anything about that match and the emotions that came into that?
Yeah, I just remember it was one of those things where it's kind of like a tough day at the office when you're, bereaving someone that you cared about so much. But I just remember that match, me and Carlito, that show was done the right way, where they just said go out and have solid matches. The baby faces win clean, whatever. Let's just try and put a smile on people's face because they need it. We need it. So I just remember just trying to do our part and do the best match that we could to honor Eddie's memory at that point.